One of the best ways that we can get fired up and get deals closed is with the questions that we're asking. The questions that we ask can either destroy us, I hate my life, I hate my job in sales, or they can make it go easy. They can help us get a lot more done. They can help us have a lot more fun. They can help us make a lot more money. So let's cover the negative and the positive, at least some of the positive on your Easton University portal. There's a ton of power questions. I'm going to give you a smidge, just a few right now, but let's get our mind right, our questions right. Let's figure out how we can use the questions that we ask to our advantage instead of our disadvantage. First off, when it comes to our disadvantage, the first thing that you have to do is stop it, knock it off if you're asking leading questions. If you guys don't know what leading questions are, they're gross, they're disgusting. You see them a lot on social media. If I could show you a way, if I could come into your office and set 432 qualified appointments to you, like leading questions. Your prospect was born at night, but they weren't born last night. So when we're asking these, dare I say, cheesy leading questions that typically start with, if I could show you a way, or if we had a system that could, or if we had a way to do this, and then there's supposedly some ta-da moment at the end, stop it, knock it off. Because even if you had a way to set all those appointments, collect all those invoices, move their stuff from A to B, or get them a mortgage at a much lower rate, when you start with, hey, if I could show you a way to reduce the rate on your mortgage by 2 points without having to incur upfront terms, it's salesy, it's gross, it's disgusting, it doesn't work, all right? So we're not asking leading questions, okay? The other thing, self-serving questions. Hey, Logan, do you have any deals I can bid on right now? Hey, do you know of anybody in your area that needs a mortgage broker? Self-serving questions are gross. Do you have any contracts we could bid on? Are you guys looking for marketing services? Anything that's self-serving, it's not their job. Let me give you else something that nobody thinks about in the terms of self-serving questions, right? If I could pick your brain a little bit. Hey, I'd like to learn a little bit about your business. That is still a self-serving question, even though you're talking about their business. It's self-serving. Hopefully you guys are picking up what I'm putting down, okay? So let's talk about some power questions. First one, after you've delivered an insight. An insight might sound like, hey, there's something that everyone who's looking for a home right now in this market is having to deal with. I just wanted to make sure you were aware of it. There's something that every medical practice that's collecting invoices is having to deal with. I just wanted to make sure you were aware of it. There is something that everybody that's being affected by the eminent domain of this construction and is having to move their business away from the on-ramp is having to deal with. I just wanted to make sure you were aware of it. That's an insight. Okay, the power question attached to the back end of that insight, how are you dealing with that, right? How are you dealing with that? And if you really want some more conversation, or you're uncomfortable asking how are you dealing with that, put just out of curiosity in front of it. Even for somebody like Derek with his martial arts programs, right? There is something that every kid is having to deal with right now and nobody's talking about it. I just want to make sure you're aware of it. It's not just the traditional bullying that we're seeing. It's everything that's going on online. It's the underhanded stuff. Dare I say, it was almost better when we let kids just duke it out on the playground, right? Where we need to solidify the kids is really from the inside with their self-confidence, with their self-esteem. How are you dealing with that with Darian and Carlos right now? What a great question for Derek as their potential new martial arts coach to ask their parents, right? How are you dealing with that? It's a dynamite power question, okay? What's your biggest reason for blank? What's your biggest reason for needing to collect these invoices? What's your biggest reason for needing to move? Now, if you think you know the answer to their biggest reason, even if you're 100% right, I still need you to ask, what's your biggest reason for blank? What's your biggest reason for needing the roof, the life of the roof extended? What's your biggest reason for moving? What's your biggest reason for needing a mortgage? Because it does not matter if you understand what it is and they understand what it is, if it is not spoken on the field of play. It has to come out of their mouth. So make sure that you're asking, what's your biggest reason for blank? Fill in the blank, all right? Walk me through your current situation and where you want to be, right? Walk me through your current situation with this mortgage, with the move. If you don't mind, Rich, can you kind of walk me through your current situation and where you want to be? Well, we've been pretty frustrated because we've gone to a number of other mortgage brokers and we're not getting what we need out of them. When you say you're not getting what you need out of them, can you give me a specific example? What's going on? That is a power freaking question, right? Your whole purpose of sales is to understand their current situation and where they want to be. And then you can show them how you can bridge the gap. You don't even need to get them all the way there. But if you just start with, hey, if I could show you a way to collect more invoices or lower your rate on your mortgage, that's a sales pitch. That's not selling. The sales pitch is actually not selling. It's marketing. They should cover this stuff in school, but they don't. Your job as a sales professional is to ask powerful questions, not leading questions, not self-serving questions. Questions like, where are you at right now? Where do you want to be? How are you dealing with that? What can I get you information on? Here's another power question. What research have you done on us? Right? Listen to how I'm perfectly positioning myself to be able to tell them about my company, to be able to tell them about my services, without having to say, if I can have 5 minutes of your time, I'd like to walk you through what we do and how we do it differently. If I lead with an insight, and then I say, how are you dealing with that? Or I say, what's your current situation, where you want to be? And they tell me, and then I go, just out of curiosity, what research have you done on us? Or just out of curiosity, what research have you done on me? Another spin on that same question is when you guys are having to deal with know-it-alls that know everything about your industry. They know everything about your competition. They know everything about everything, and they're being difficult with you. Sometimes that's not even your client, by the way. If you've been to a trade show, you know what I'm talking about. It's the wingman or wingwoman. It's that smack talker that's chirping, the chirper, that's chirping in the background. You don't want to do this. We like the software that we have. They're literally just trying to destroy your sale in front of the prospect. Just out of curiosity, what do you know about us? Well, I don't know. Well, let me walk you through how we're a little bit different than ADP or how we're a little bit different than IBM. All due respect to them. I know you're with them. That's great. But let me walk you through in this particular situation where I think we best meet Sheila's need, right? So either what research have you done on us, framing power question right in the beginning to allow you to pitch, or when somebody or their support person is being difficult and talking smack, you can say, what do you know about us and how we do things differently? Or what do you know about me and how I do things differently? All right, so that's a big one. What motivated you? What motivated you to take this meeting? What motivated you to stop by today? What motivated you to reach out to us? Again, these are the things that you guys think you know, the prospect thinks they know, but if it's not spoken about on the field of play, it didn't happen. If they don't tell you what motivated them, it didn't happen. All right, let me give you a couple last few, okay? What's the most important thing that we need to accomplish? Hey guys, appreciate to be on this Teams call. Tony, great to see you. Dave, awesome to see you. Guys, what's the most important thing that we need to accomplish during our 15 minutes here today? Ask that early, especially if you are in an online environment, a Zoom, a Teams, a conference call. There's a lot going on in the background, okay? That call could be going terrible for 30 minutes and you won't know it. A great way to avoid that is to ask people what's the most important thing that we need to accomplish. If you're in real estate and they're looking at a property, as you open the door, you should be asking them, what's the most important thing that you need to see? Or what's the most important thing that we need to accomplish as we walk through the house? Otherwise, they're going to do what? Follow you through the house, wondering if there's going to be enough space for the pickleball court that is the end-all, be-all thing that they want to do. Find out about the gosh darn pickleball court right away so you can address it. Most of us don't ask those questions because we're afraid the person's going to give us a negative answer. A true consummate professional is going to find out the positives and the negatives right away so they can deal with them. Okay, so what's the most important thing we need to accomplish? Let me give you a few others, then we'll open it up to questions. Here's a great one that most of you are not asking. Just out of curiosity, Dave, what makes that date important? Right? When do we need to have this system up and running? Oh, by May the 15th. Perfect, I'll write that down. We'll get you a contract. We'll have it. What makes that May 15th? What makes that date important? We've got a board meeting June 1st, and if we don't get this fixed, there's going to be hell to pay. When you say hell to pay, Dave, just out of curiosity, what's going on? Walk me through the situation. Yeah, I mean, we had considerable layoffs last year. One of the things that's on our CEO's radar and has very, very high visibility is that we figure out how to get XYZ done with ABC, and I have to have that accomplished before that board meeting June 1st, right? You're never going to get to that level of granular detail if you don't ask them what makes that date important. If you guys in your job have dates, okay? Hopefully you're not dating people in your job. I mean dates, numbers, right? Dates. What date do they need to sign, close on the house? What date do they need to move into the house? What date do they need to have the software up and running? Stop ever asking people what date unless you're going to follow it up with what makes that date important, because that's where all the real information is, okay? Even if they go, I don't know, I just pulled it out of thin air. Well, now you know you have a prospect that wasn't as hot as they were before, okay? So what makes that date important? What do you want to see first? As we go through this demo, guys, I have a pretty good understanding of your current situation, the capabilities you needed in being able to import the SKUs into the CRM system. But before we get started on the demo, 2 questions for you. What's the most important thing we need to accomplish? And what do you want to see first as I open up the software? You guys should not be doing anything, whether it's demoing software, showing a house, walking through financial proposals, going through a perspective, unless you're letting that person drive even a little bit. What's the most important thing we need to accomplish, and what do you want to see first? Because if you start showing them a bunch of stuff that's not germane to their decision, all you can do is blow your deal up, okay? Can you give me a specific example? When you say blank, can you give me a specific example? We'll make you millions of dollars, right? We don't want to do a contract with somebody that has long-term contracts. When you say long-term contract, can you give me a specific example? Right? In fact, when we hear pushback from clients, we just try and overcome the objection. A lot of times, if you ask them for a specific example, you will have misinterpreted the question, or there'll be other information that you need, right? So when you say blank, can you give me a specific example? Both in terms of them giving you negative pushback and positive, right? You could say, let's say your software is R246 compliant, right? And they say, hey, we want a software that's R246 compliant. Don't just jump in and go, great, ours is. When you say you need a software that's R246 compliant, can you give me a specific example? Yeah, we're proud to say we're female veteran owned, and we just got on the government, the GSA portal. And if that's the last piece that we need to get those contracts. Got it. When you say those contracts, where are you guys at right now in terms of total contract value? Where do you think you could be if we're able to get those government contracts? We think there's an additional $20 million in top line revenue to our construction business, right? If I had just said I'm R246 compliant, I didn't solidify the fact that this is a $20 million improvement to them. So can you give me a specific example, right? When somebody's being very difficult with you, I want you guys to realize this. University of Harvard did a study, and I think it was 96.8% of people, you guys can check my facts, okay? It's up there, it's plus 90%. Believe that they're more open-minded than the rest of the population. That's not possible. It's not mathematically possible, okay? You can't have more than 50% that's more than the rest of the population. Unfortunately, we all think we're more open-minded. So you can use that to your advantage when somebody's being closed off with you. We're all good. We don't want to look at vendors. Totally understand. Hey, just out of curiosity, how open-minded are you? I'm pretty open-minded. Got it. Because the reason why I ask is there's something that everybody that's dealing with CRM software is having to deal with and nobody's talking about. I just wanted to make sure you were aware of it. Well, no. Well, what is it? Now all of a sudden you could take somebody that was trying to push you off, that didn't want to talk to you, maybe in your prospecting, that's being a real jerk, and you can throw a little Hail Mary over there of how open-minded are you. In most of the cases, they're going to say, I'm fairly open-minded, or they're at the very least going to go, what do you have? Allowing you to keep talking, okay? Last thing I want you guys, and this isn't a power question, but I want to make sure that you're aware of this in terms of the questions you're asking, okay? Money and power make people lie. I'm going to say this again because it's vital for you to understand. Money and power make people lie. So if I say to Danielle, hey Danielle, are you the decision maker on this? Where does that fall? Falls into power. If Danielle is not the decision maker, there's an 80+% chance that she's going to lie and say she is, because I'm hitting her right in the ego, right? She's like, I don't make any decisions. She's never going to say it. She's going to go, yeah, I am. And then you're going to go through this whole process only to find out that Bernie is the decision maker. On the other direction, let's say Danielle is the decision maker. She's the end all be all. The buck stops with Danielle. And I say, hey Danielle, are you the decision maker on this? Money and power make people lie. Danielle is going to go, no, I need to get Bernie's input on it. So asking questions like, are you the decision maker? You're probably not going to get an honest answer. Might be a good idea to find a more skillful way around that, or avoid it altogether and just have a sales process to proceed. On the money side, the only way around people lying with money is if you give them a reason for you to be honest. So if I say, what's your top line revenue right now? They're going to make something up, or they're going to say none your business. But if I frame that money question and put two ends to it, it becomes a mathematical formula that they're more likely to solve. That sounds like this. Hey Danielle, just out of curiosity, where are you at in terms of top line revenue right now? Where do you want to be? Right? Oh, well, we're at 4.2 million. We want to be to 7. Versus, how much is the company making right now? Oh, a lot, right? You're never going to get an honest answer because money and power make people lie. Okay, so avoid those power questions, and on the money questions, be very mathematical, right? Make it an algebra problem. A plus B, I don't know, I failed at algebra, right? We got to solve for X. And the X is, where are you at right now? Where do you want to be, right? In terms of what you're hoping to get out of the lift from this software project in terms of revenue to the company, where are you guys at in terms of revenue right now? Where do you want to be once the software is implemented? That's going to allow them to give you a more honest answers. Guys, power questions. Don't ask the bad ones and double down on the good ones, and you're going to make a lot more money, have a lot more fun, get a lot more done. People are going to love working with you.